I was suicidal actually, and I don't think we've ever actually talked about that on here. I don't really talk about it a lot, but I know you'll remember because those were the years. I think you and I had then split up, but we were still
Yeah.
in contact. And I did end up going on medication for a while to kind of get some support. Hey, folks, medication is just a ladder that gets you out of a hole.
Is the thought of being imperfect keeping you from taking action? Welcome to Inspired Action for Imperfect Humans. Each week, we give you real-life stories and thought-provoking research that inspires your soul to live a more fulfilled life through your own actions. From the heart of Calgary, Canada, here are your hosts, award-winning coaches, Christopher Lawrence and Kyle Kalu.
Hello, hello.
What's up? I kind of like that little note there.
Totally. Me too.
What's happening, Christopher James Lawrence?
Kyle, what are we talking about today?
That's a very good question. What are we talking about today? Because I just showed up. I just had to show up today. You just told me, show up, and I showed up.
See, I knew you wouldn't come with a plan, so I did.
For those who have not seen videos of our podcast, you probably should watch that because that alone is another show, just so you could see my facial expressions. And
it's on YouTube.
Well. Yeah. So if you have never seen it, I am telling you, you're only getting half the story.
It's true.
So
we're going to talk about your purpose over passion.
Oh, love this.
Yes.
I have lots to say already. Okay.
Me too. Well, what do you have to say? Because you always give me crap for like rushing you through.
Here's the thing. I hear it's everywhere, and I know why it is. And I think I hope where you go with it today is to really explain it, because I think every time I talk to someone, either about their career, about their job, about their thing, it's about, oh, I'm passionate about this. I'm passionate. The reason why I want to do this because I'm passionate about it. Oh, because I'm really passionate, and I'm just passionate. And I hear it, and I think passion plays a role. I don't think it's everything and everything. And sometimes I'm not passionate about certain things, but I still have to do it. So I hope you go to the place with this to really talk about the difference and why one requires the other, or how they can cohabitate. And if you have to give up one, which one would you give? I don't know where you're going to go with it, but I just have this thing. It has to be more than passion. That's really what I'm saying. We have to go beyond passion. And not that I deliberately tried to plug your book there, but deliberately, I say that to people all the time. Great title, by the way. Like, you have a knack for titling. I'll give you that much. Folks, all the titles you see on the podcast, most of them did not come from me, because if I had my way, it probably would be a completely different thing. But Christopher really has a knack for titling, and he did that great with the company. Like, our company name is really titled, is brilliant title by Christopher, as well as his book, because I literally say it all the time. Like, what is beyond passion? Like, what's the next thing? Because it can't just be passionate, because we're not passionate every day. I did tell you I had a lot to say. Okay, I'll shut up. So what are we talking about today?
Well, I mean, you seem to have a case, so I don't know why I have to say anything. Girl, what you all can't see is that he is laughing, but he's doing a silent laugh, which makes me look like I'm nasty. Why don't you laugh out loud so damn people can hear you? Okay, so I want to start with a story here. Okay, so the story is this. I remember having an existential crisis a number of years ago, actually, when I was working at in an oil and gas firm. Nothing against the oil and gas firm at all, just where I was in my life. Okay, so I want to read a definition of what an existential crisis is, because people need to know. So the way that it's defined on, why are you laughing at me already?
I just heard the people them need to know. I heard the patois version of the people needs to know in my head. That's all.
That's what I said. I said damn people. I said it in the
Okay, so
patois
one
version.
was okay.
Yeah,
I thought I
no,
heard it. I just
no,
thought I
totally.
translated it.
No, totally.
Okay, got it.
Okay, so an existential crisis, also known as existential dread, are moments when individuals question whether their lives have meaning, purpose, or value, and are negatively impacted by the contemplation.
Wow.
And so I think people run into this in their lives. I think now more than ever, because now that so much is provided for us, like, I think, 50 years ago, 100 years ago, well, 100 years ago, you look at like the wars and that kind of thing. Is like purpose was survival. Purpose was providing for your family. Purpose was finding a stable job and sticking with it and being loyal. But all of those old concepts, because we live in a world of luxury, and I know that not everybody does, but we
Right.
have choice more than we've ever had. Basic needs are provided for more than they ever have been. We've still got a long way to go, right? So don't send me hate me email. And I am a social justice warrior when it comes to that stuff. But I think more than ever, people are lacking purpose. And so what
Mhm.
do? We numb out and scroll our lives away on our phones. I remember going through this, a number of years ago. And when people really get to this place, they can often lose their will to live, actually.
Oh,
Right. This
wow.
goes back to Viktor Frankl's work in A Man's Search for Meaning. Sorry, A Man's Search for Meaning. Nobody's
Mhm.
searching for meetings. We want less meetings.
No one ever said, I'm looking for a good meeting. Does anybody know?
No, no. Although, okay, to be fair, addicts look
Okay,
for a good meeting,
yeah, I did have
right?
that thought,
You got to
but
get your
the
meetings in,
others,
right? Okay,
the rest,
so
no.
so as I was thinking about this topic for today, I was thinking about this thing about purpose. And when I went through this journey, and I was suicidal, actually, and I don't think we've ever actually talked about that on here. I don't really talk about it a lot, but I know you'll remember, because those were the years. I think you and I had then split up, but we were
Yeah.
still in contact. And I
Mhm.
did end up going on medication for a while to kind of get some support. Hey, folks, medication is just a ladder that gets you out of a hole, right?
Mhm.
And then you're in a
Brilliantly
place
putting
that
it.
you
Yeah.
can do the work. And when you
Yeah.
do the work, then sometimes for some people, there's an ability to come off the meds. Some people there
Yeah.
isn't. For me, there was. I have not been on them for over a decade now, but
Mhm.
I think the reason why I mentioned this, Kyle, is because I went through that thing. I'm like, what am I doing this for? Right. And people can do this with their businesses. They hit their vision and they're like, or their vision goes away. Right. And it's like, what am I doing
Right.
this for? Right. People, so it can be careers, personal lives, whatever. Right. It's like, what am I doing this for? And so there can be a loss of a will to live or exist. And it starts by kind of like, numbing out. I think for a lot of people, they just kind of avoid
Mhm.
it. And so I think we do have to have purpose. And, I'm privileged enough in my life that, and I say privileged, it was 4 years of fucking hell.
Mhm.
I was privileged to go through 4 years of hell so that I could come out the other side of it and realize that there was more for me. And I think when people say, like, I hear my clients say this all the time, I feel like I was meant for more. And there's always this like battle between their ego and like and purpose. And so I think, we talk about passion. I think passion's a very important thing, but I also look at passion like icing on a cake. If there's no cake, if there's no substance, passion will run in all sorts of different directions, and it has no substance, and it can leave us feeling wanting. So then what do? Like a drug, we seek more passion. But because it's an emotion, like all emotions, it comes and goes. Anger comes and goes. Happiness comes and goes, right? Passion, being an emotion, comes and goes. So I think passion is probably the most unreliable definition of purpose that you can have, because
Mhm.
passion is actually extremely short-lived. We get snippets of it. Passion is and you can hear, I'm passionate about this subject,
No kidding. I was just gonna
right?
say amen. I was like, can you guys hear that? Hello, people in the back row. Can you hear that? People in the back row. Did you hear that? So that's really what I was gonna say. I was like, yes, honey, yes. Let them know.
So, but that's the thing, right? So I'm passionate about this subject, but it's a snippet. Will I always be passionate about this subject? Yes, until I'm not, or until I'm
Right.
not in the moment of passion. Like, do you think people listening, because Kyle and I have a lot of passion, do you think we wake up on, a winter morning in Canada when there's a blizzard and it's minus 40, do you think it's passion that brings us in the door? Like, we're human beings too.
Right.
Girl, there is love lost on a minus 40 winter day. Like, they say there's no love lost. It's like, oh, girl, there is love lost. Like, let me tell you, that is not what brings us in the door. What brings us in the door is our purpose. And so for me, the purpose is really about helping people connect to their fulfillment. It's about helping people find their purpose and really ultimately finding fulfillment in the work they do. And work is in quotations because your work might be stay-at-home parenting. It might be retirement. It might be raising children. The work is not necessarily a paid salary or wage job, right? That's my purpose. Because I know what it's like to not experience fulfillment in those things. And that's so important to me because I see the connection when people find that purpose. When passion's there, it just makes it taste better. When passion's not there, your purpose can help pull you through. Kyle, I want to, so this is how we move through an existential crisis. Kyle, I want to ask you, talk to me about purpose in your life. And girl, you've got 30 seconds. I'm just kidding.
Of course. You know what? Purpose, like I said, I'm a continuously person to find the next thing as far as how am I going to live a better life? How do I share that with others to have others live a better life? How do I help people get better about themselves, which helps me too. Make no mistake, that helps me as well. And so back to that point when you talked about what gets us in, there's moments when I look on my schedule and I said, wow, okay, the clients I have today or the workshops I have to do today, those people need me more, right? They need that more than me being warm and cozy and not doing anything. And so it's not obligated to be there, but I want to show up for them. It's interesting. We started the podcast where I said, hey, I just showed up. I'm good with just showing up and then what is needed, right? And, not everyone does that. It's not to say one is better than the other. We just have different things. But make no mistake, I needed to identify what is going to help me do the things I know I want to do or need to do without feeling good about it, like without waking up and thinking, it's great. So for me, every time I talk to someone, every time I do something, this thing in the back of my mind is, what is its value and how do I leverage that? And that could be the knowledge, that could be cost savings, that could be strategies, that could be tactics. But I'm constantly looking and waiting and observing a value, right? And again, those values are things that we accept in our lives, right? Sometimes it's without logic, sometimes without notion, but it has worked for us, right? And so that is my thing when I think about purpose is, how do I actually still do the things that I can do?
Yeah, totally. It's interesting because with my clients over and over and over again, so much they're coming in because they feel like they're lacking passion, right? They feel like they're lacking passion and they're like, I should be happy, but I'm not. I hear that so much. It's like, I should be grateful, but I'm not, right? Especially, when they're checking. And a lot of it stems from career. Part of that's how I market myself, which is why I get so many people coming in for career.
But we can't be passionate all the time, though. Just by that other thing that you said, if it's an emotion, can you sustain an emotion the whole day? That right, either really happy or really sad or really like we will go through those things. I think when people hear emotions, they think it's a happy. Oh, I feel so good. Like if you're at a funeral, what emotions are you gonna have? You can't be happy.
You can't be
Right?
happy all the time, but I think you can experience fulfillment. Where I was going with this is with my clients over and over and over again. They're experiencing, they're like checking all the boxes, right? I was talking about career before I was so rudely interrupted by you. He's rolling his eyes. I was talking about career. And so with career, we kind of look at, like the old career model, and I don't use this model because it's bullshit. But the old career model is you have to make good money. You have to be good at it. You need to have some passion for it, and there needs to be a market need for it. And most people can check the boxes, and except for maybe passion. And then they say, I should be grateful, but I'm not. And I'm like, and then they're stuck and they become depressed, or they experience depression, right? Or anxiety, or, and they start to actually lose a bit of hope. And what's interesting actually is that when we connect to the purpose, sometimes I can tell you that probably 60% of my clients never leave the job. Like they come for career coaching because they want to find out what they should do for their living.
Mhm.
But I'd say about 60% of the clients, so still a good portion do leave, but 60% stay, and they stay with a completely refreshed perspective because we found a new purpose for them.
Yeah.
I wanted to talk about some research, Kyle. Can I do that?
Yeah. I'm
So I've
curious,
got
actually.
2 things. This one comes from the Journal of Religion and Health. So I know religion is a loaded word. As soon as you say it, people have things to say. Okay, but just look at the study, right? So that's where it comes from, but it has been published from on the U.S. National Library of Medicine, National Institutes of Health. Okay, so don't look at the word and discredit it, folks. This is a good academic study. So I'm just going to read the title and just one portion of this. The title is called Sense of Purpose Sense of Purpose in Life and Escape from Self as the predictors of quality of life in clinical samples. So basically what this is saying is, when we compare sense of purpose in life and escape from yourself, are there predictors of quality of life when we look at clinical samples? That's what we're looking at. So where I want to go with this is they talk about like suicide attempts. They even talk about things like grip strength, like the amount of grip strength you have as you age, right? What they found was they used a purpose in life scale, a general self-efficacy scale, and a satisfaction with life scale. Those are the 3 scales that they used. And the results... Here's the sentence I wanted to read. The ability to maintain the feeling of a sense of one's existence seems to be a significant factor that protects from a decrease in life quality and keeps the feeling of being able to deal in difficult situations, as well as helps to accept the depression symptoms. So what's interesting, so this is a thing, right? Like some people will experience depression. And the interesting thing is actually one of the best ways we can move through depression is by accepting it and learning to work with it rather than seeking happiness. Seeking happiness can be like a drug. So when I get into, mildly depressive emotions, I go... instead of seeking happiness, I go to the place of, I'm in this place right now, and I know it's not going to last forever. How can I, move through this by being with this? And it's funny because usually it goes away in a day or 2, whereas before it used to take months, right? And now it's like a day or 2, and it's like, okay, moving through. Sometimes it's a week, So it's interesting. The results of the study, people actually live longer when they have a sense of purpose.
Of course.
Right?
The reason to show up, the reason to do what you do, right?
Totally, right? So the second study is called The Association Between Life Purpose and Mortality among U.S. adults older than 50 years old. And here's what the results were again. I'm just going to go to like the meat and potatoes of the conclusion. So this study's results indicated that stronger purpose in life was associated with decreased mortality. And in this study, they actually looked at all-cause mortality and reasons why people died. So purposeful living may have health benefits. And of course, every study says future research needs to be done. but basically there is a correlation between having purpose and quality of life, and having purpose and mortality rates. So it's important that we have a purpose. And so the purpose needs to be something that we can experience every single day. I'm moving into tips now. So this is what I want people to really pay attention to. Your purpose needs to be something that you can experience every single day. If it's an end of life purpose or a legacy purpose, it will lose meaning over time. So you can have a legacy purpose, but tie it back to your everyday contribution. And people overcomplicate this conversation, Kyle. It needs to be super simple. Like people think, what's my life purpose? And it's like, it is so overcomplicated. If people are struggling with this, they need to reach out and have a strategy session with one of us, because it is overcomplicated. It does not need to be as complicated as it is. You need to experience it every day, and it has to have a contribution to something outside of yourself. It has to have a contribution to someone else. When I say that, everybody thinks I need to go volunteer for a not-for-profit. That does not have to be what it is. It could be contributing to your child's college fund. So instead of buying a Starbucks every day, you put $7 in a bank account every single day, so you can see it growing every single day. That can be a sense of purpose, right? So we want to make sure that people are focused on those two things. How people discover their purpose. This is a little broad, but the starting place, look at your values, because your core value system is who you are or who you want to be in this world. It's part of your identity. The second thing you do is you look at what you enjoy, the tasks you enjoy doing. The combination, you think about this, the combination of what you like to do, like tasks that you find enjoyable,
Right.
and who you are as a person, that combination can lead you down the path of discovering your life purpose.
I love that. And if I could add one to that, is tell people your purpose. Share it with people. Tell people, right? Be your own advocate for your purpose. And you'd be amazed how people, that's interesting. I believe that about you. And so they help you reaffirm it. And also you reaffirm it for yourself, because if you could teach someone else about your purpose, it's going to lock it in for you too, right? So you're going to remember it. So share that with people. That's a great conversation. Besides, what about the game this weekend? What about the weather, right? Just say, listen, I just actually came to the realization that I have a purpose and I want to share that with you. I'd love to hear what you think about it, or what resonates with you about the purpose, because you're not asking for people's permission. You're just sharing that with them.
I 100% agree, Kyle. And I can also tell you, when people do that, it's like their own coming out story. I'll never forget one of my clients. She came in extremely insecure, extremely passive, person of color, in a culture that, maybe women are not seen this.
Yeah, sometimes there's a little bit, each culture has a different pieces to that, right?
That's it.
Yeah.
And this was her words to me, right? They're not seen the same way, right? So there was a specific role that she was supposed to fulfill, and that kind of thing. And so when she realized that she was a, woman of color, and although her parents actually were quite liberal in that sense, but there was a piece about her identity when she realized that she was a woman of color in tech, who needed to communicate to the world in a specific way. There was a very specific purpose. When she realized that, not only did she start to cry, she started to go and tell her friends, right? So it's a sense of relief. And I'm telling you, she is going to be 10 times more successful than I am. And it was because she owned her purpose. And it's not that I don't own my purpose. I just see, like, she's got this panache and this drive and this amazingness, right? And not that I'm comparing at all. It's just more, I think when I do the comparison, it's more about my appreciation for who she is as a human being. But it started with that purpose discovery. So folks, your imperfect inspired action is to start the work of discovering your purpose. And maybe that means reaching out to us and having a conversation.
You can do it.
It's our goal to build a global community of inspired action takers. And we can only do that with your help. So if you love inspired action, please leave a review on your favorite podcasting app and share us on your socials. You've heard from us. Now we want to hear from you. Go to inspiredactionpodcast.ca and tell us, what is the inspired action you took this week? Next week on Inspired Action for Imperfect Humans.
When someone calls you sensitive, like you're too sensitive, you're so sensitive, what they're actually interpreting is their own emotional experience of the world. That's what they're interpreting.